What's up? Chris from Unsigned Musician. Today I want to talk a little bit about vibrato. Vibrato is one of those color texture effects that as guitarists we definitely want to have in our arsenal and be able to apply when needed. It is the simple act of taking a static note and giving it rapid alterations to produce a fuller, richer tone. If your vibrato is lackluster right now, don't worry. By the end of this video, I will have given some great practice ideas that you can implement into your own routine. Developing your own vibrato technique and your own feel is something that will take a little bit of time, but once you get the basics down, it's going to add this sweet little, cake on top of your ice cream, if that's how you say it, when you're playing. The basics of vibrato on a guitar are taking a note and basically shaking it or giving it micro bends down and releasing to give a vocal-like vibrato to a guitar note. I'll play an example of a static note and then just adding some simple vibrato so you can hear the difference. And now here's the vibrato. Now, when are you going to use vibrato? Vibrato is normally used all the time. There's not very many times you're going to hold a note without giving it some sort of vibrato. A static, long holding note can be cool for an effect, but like in singing, vibrato always adds a sweetness to it. So how do we learn this? All right, it's very simple. We're going to do a 4-finger exercise, practicing vibrato with all 4 of our fingers. Hopefully by the end of this, you will have something you can put in your own practice routine. We're going to start on the G string with this exercise, and our first finger on the 5th fret. There are a few different ways to add vibrato to a string, and a lot of it is determined on your thumb position. So whether your thumb is on top of the neck or behind the neck will affect how you can vibrato the string. If we start with our finger on top of the neck, which is very common for blues soloing and for using your first 3 fingers minus your pinky, we will play a static note. And then the form is going to be to take our other 3 fingers and kind of pull back and forth and get that string to rock. The other variation is if your finger is behind the neck because of a chord or a different lick that you're playing. In this instance, you're going to pull the note more down and back instead of just straight back. You want to draw a circle with your finger. Instead of going straight up and down, which is much more of a rigid movement, you just want to kind of have a very small circular motion. And as you get progressing with this, you'll find out what works for you and what doesn't, and just carry on with how you like your vibrato to sound. All right, on to the exercise. I recommend using a little bit of gain, and we're going to take our 5th fret of our D string, and we're just going to vibrato it for about 5 seconds straight. So even if you lose the feel of it or it doesn't sound quite right, just keep that finger moving to make sure we build up our stamina and strength while we're doing this exercise. Finger 1. Next, we're going to add our 2nd finger on, and with this finger, we're going to do it 2 different ways. We're going to do it with the supporting 1st finger and then by itself. So first, we're going to do 2 finger. Now by itself. Next comes the ring finger, and we are going to use the 2 supporting fingers below it, our index and our middle finger, to start this vibrato. Next, I'm going to use my ring finger and middle finger to get a 2-finger vibrato. And And lastly, the ring finger by itself. That brings us to our pinky finger, which normally I never have vibrato with string all on its own. I'll have some supporting fingers behind it, my ring middle, or even all four fingers working together if they're doing nothing else, like muting a string or playing another note. Vibrato with the pinky with 3 supporting fingers. Vibrato with the pinky with 2 supporting fingers. That is my very basic exercise that I would do to work a little bit on my vibrato, to get a small start to be able to shake those strings. During all those examples, my notes cut out all the time. I use a very low gain sound when practicing a lot of technique. The reason why I do that is I want to hear the string for itself. So I can actually hear the string on my guitar more than I'm hearing it from the amp. So just during a few parts of my practice routine, I'll use a super clean amp that isn't going to sustain through as long as I'm playing that note, but I can still feel it under my fingers and still hear the note playing from the guitar and hear the string. So that's why I don't use a high gain sound when I'm doing this. Feel free to use a high gain sound, mid gain sound, whatever you find comfortable to do. I would recommend turning your gain down as much as you can and still feel comfortable playing an exercise like this. The better you can get it sounding clean, it's going to sound way better when you crank that gain on and you're used to having to work to make it sound really good clean. And now when you add your regular gain stages, it's going to sound that much better. All right, well that is the very basics of vibrato for guitar. It's a technique that will take some time to develop, and as it does, you'll have some hiccups here and some bumps there, but it'll be a steady progression upwards if you stick with it. And the last thing I want to show is that playing a static note with one finger and then doing a vibrato with a second finger on a different note is a very cool effect you can throw into your lead lines, into your rhythm playing. It's a very common practice when doing intervals. So playing a note on one string and skipping a string and playing another note and adding vibrato to that first or second note. The way I normally do it will be on the second note. So my first note will be the static, and the second note I'll add vibrato to. Also take note when learning songs, really listen for the vibrato that the guitar player is putting in, where he's putting it, if it's fast, if it's slow, if it's aggressive, if he doesn't throw any in. Be really mindful of that when you're learning so you can start kind of mimicking what the pros do and what sounds really good to everyone's ears, and you can start to unlock the secrets of that technique. All right, well, good luck with your journey on adding vibrato to your arsenal and your guitar playing. It's going to add a huge amount of flavor, make you sound more professional if you add some nice sweet vibrato, and really work on it. Find that tempo where the vibrato isn't too fast or too slow for the song you're playing. You're never going to play vibrato the exact same song to song. Slower songs may need a subtler, slower vibrato, where aggressive songs may need you to shake the hell out of this thing and get it to squeal. And so take it in context as well. Don't just have one vibrato that you use for everything and think it sounds great. If you can, record yourself practicing your vibrato and listen back to it. That's one of the best ways that you'll be able to judge if you're making progress and if it sounds sweet. All right, I really hope you enjoyed this lesson on adding vibrato to a guitar. Check out our other lessons and subscribe, hit the bell, all that fun stuff. I'll see you next time.